Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the the turbo argument that for some reason is an argument in the speedrun community right now. I've always had this stance that it does not matter. That personally, I don't even think there should be separate leaderboards for turbo. I think we should just cap turbo to a certain speed, and people can run turbo if they want. I feel like it's kind of silly to try and to like not allow it. You cap it to a certain speed to where it's like you don't need to use turbo, because the way they're talking about it right now, at least from what I've heard in the Dread community, is that they want to uncap turbo. Which, when you uncap turbo, that means people are going to run turbo at a speed where it's required to do turbo. Because if you don't, you're just not going to be able to do the same things. And I, for one, think that's silly. I'm fortunate enough to where I run games where turbo isn't actually that big of a deal. Like, turbo helps a little bit in 9. Mainly in stutter stepping, which, I mean, that can save you a good chunk of time, but you can still, like, stutter stepping is more of a rhythm and less of a, you have to just mash super fast. The 4 has to be in one of these two. What? It's 4 not right there? I'm an idiot. Whatever. I'm dumb. Yeah, personally, I've always thought that I didn't care if people use turbo. In fact, there's been times where I've wanted to use turbo because I just feel like it's more convenient. And in a lot of cases, especially if you cap it to certain speeds, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't want to use turbo, you could definitely train yourself to mash in a way that you're not hurting yourself and can mash as fast as turbo. I also think it's a bad idea that people are using health as an argument towards turbo. Because if we want to use health as an argument, then, like, we gotta then talk about incredibly long runs like Final Fantasy IX being 9 hours long. Things like that. Or then talk about, you know, just marathon runs in general. It's a whole... When you start bringing health into the argument, I feel like it's a huge gray area. Where, like, you can be like, all right, we start enforcing turbo in certain runs for safety reasons, because too many people are getting hurt, or because, you know, there's disabilities where you cannot mash as fast, so we'll enforce turbo, you know, for health. But then people will just start being like, well, why don't we enforce this for health reasons? Like, you know, some fucking arbitrary rule about long marathon runs like FF9 and stuff like that, or FF10. fucking any of the PS2 Final Fantasy games or PS1. I just feel like when we start bringing health into it, it starts diminishing the argument as much. But I think health is also something that you should take into account. But I've always been on the stance that I don't care about turbo at all. And in fact, I think it shouldn't even be a separate category. I think we just cap turbo to a reasonable speed where you can pick, do I want to play turbo or do I want to play not turbo? That way, if people feel that fulfillment or that, like, get that nice dopamine rush from mashing, they can choose to mash. But if you don't feel like fucking mashing throughout an entire run, then you just don't mash. I just think if you cap it, you're not getting, like, an innate edge over people. Other than the mental block of being like, I have to mash. Which is, like, not... I mean, that's not really a block. But again, I also run games where turbo is just a quality of life thing and does not change my run in any way. Again, I get easier stutter stepping. The Hedgehog Pie hot and cold minigame. If I was to run 8, you could get more consistent Quistis cards. But I believe the way they do it anyways is already consistent, and it doesn't matter if you mash it or not. I don't know if they changed it, if they started doing it a different way, but I remember it used to be a weird manip where if you started the card game within a certain amount of frames, then it would guarantee Quistis card. So if you use turbo, you would, like, guarantee Quistis card. But I don't know if that's a thing anymore. I can't really say. I don't think 7 would have any benefit to turbo. I don't think any of them would really... 9's only real benefit is stutter stepping, which is like... How many stutter steps do you do in the game? From Ice Cavern to Dolly. From Lindblom to Giza's. From Giza's to Bermesia. From Bermesia to Clara, which is like nothing. Same with Giza's to Bermesia. Then you have a pretty long one going to going from Fossil Roo to the Chocobo Tracks. And then you have a pretty long one in disc 3. So across an 8.5, 9-hour run, there are 6 potential spots where turbo could be very helpful. And I mean, turbo helps with mashing through text. But again, I think that's more of like a quality of life thing. I don't think you're mashing for deal life when you're mashing through text. I think it's more of just a rhythm thing. Same with stutter stepping. And with the way you advance text boxes in 9, you can advance text boxes with square and X. So if you're mashing both square and X, it goes by even faster. I just think this argument shouldn't be as much of an argument as it really is. And I can't help but feel like bringing health into it, I feel like it makes it a bit more disingenuous. Because even though I feel like it's a thing that should be talked about, like speedrunning is, you know, already a challenging thing. And then if you have disabilities that, you know, make it even harder, and it's, you know, an even harder thing to get into. But I'm like half paying attention to this, by the way. Yeah, I just don't think it's as serious as people are making it out to be. But I, for one, if I had the choice between Turbo or not Turbo, I would probably play Turbo. The only reason I don't play Turbo is because it's very difficult to get a decent Turbo controller for PS2.